Graphic design? Can you make a living at that?
Three, two, one, fun, 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 fun.
Welcome to Design Futures, a show about what happens after design school. I'm Chris St. Cyr, and my guest on this episode is Dani Dayton. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Dani is a graphic designer at the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. Projects include catalog for the Hall of Fame store, social media campaigns, and exhibition graphics. She is a 2016 graduate of the College of St. Rose. And I didn't know this, but according to her Twitter profile, you're a big fan of Winnie the Pooh. Is that true?
Yes and no. There's a great book, The Tao of Pooh.
The Tao of Pooh. The world was not a setter of traps, but a teacher of valuable lessons, is the quote you have pinned to your top of the Twitter stream there. Oh,
it's everything.
Yeah, and do you find you reference the wisdom of Pooh on a fairly regular basis?
It's actually kind of like my go-to friend at work. We seem like mind to mind, I guess, a lot of the time, and he's kind of just having not such a great day. And I was like, hold on, let me go look up this quote for you. And it wasn't that quote, but yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there.
I'll have to check out that book. Is it
Benjamin Hoff?
Oh, okay.
That's the author
of The Tao of Pooh.
Yep.
I guess we'll have to look it up. I don't know that.
I think a link in the show notes is in order here. So
we'll do that. We can do that. That's easy enough.
I know.
Yeah. So. It's just a web page, just the link.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm super excited to hear about what does a graphic designer at the National Baseball Hall of Fame do on a regular basis? We've talked, we have a bond over baseball. I could talk about baseball probably just as much as I could talk about design, maybe not as much these days. What's your day like? What's your job like at being a designer in a museum, national museum, but also like a sport that you grew up loving and playing?
So first, right, I saw your pin. So let's all I noticed.
Yes.
So it didn't go
Red Sox Nation. We'll get into that in a minute.
I skipped over my Yankees Lou Gehrig t-shirt. I tried to keep a little neutral, but
you could have worn that.
I know.
That would have not a Derek Jeter jersey.
Well, I felt like with his induction to be and his nomination this year, I figured he's getting his light, he's getting his due, but Lou Gehrig, just a sage human, as we know.
Well, yeah, of course. So Derek Jeter, going in 21? I thought he was last year.
So this year is obviously a weird year anyway. And, it just carries over into baseball.
Yeah.
And he was elected and voted in by the writers in January something of 2020. Was supposed to be on stage showing the little plaque this July. That got bumped, and now there's a whole 2020 and 2021 induction. The ceremony is slated for July 2021.
So it'll be double the inductees.
That's
double the celebration.
Hopefully, something about that comes out. I don't know. That's in a different boardroom. Happening somewhere, but
so what are you doing as a designer? I talked about a couple things you worked on. We'll take a look at some of the work that you shared with me. I imagine it's a baseball Hall of Fame. I imagine you start the day off by hitting the batting cages. Is that what you do there? I mean, that would be awesome. No?
I've been on a couple of creative briefs and hey, we have this space. What's going in next? I'm like, yo, it is baseball. Baseball is fun. Kids come here. I know we've got to teach something, but we went on a field trip to the Little League Museum at one point. They've got a running track, getting your timing on what's your home to first out of the box. That's how we'll teach them science and, launch angle and stuff, but not yet. We're running out of square footage over there on Main Street. Day to day, I actually do get to walk down, the plaque gallery to go to my office. Some days you're not really paying attention to how cool that is. And other times, especially when you're getting in early with the skylights, the lights aren't on yet. So it's like a really dim lighting, but the skylight's coming in just right at 7 whatever in the morning. And, you know, you kind of like realize it's like empty. It's super quiet. None of the sound throughout the exhibits is turned on yet. That's a pretty cool feeling. I'm doing our retail. I'm actually work heavily with our retail department. So that's if you're a member and you get our retail email blasts, a lot of that stuff is what I'm doing every day. A lot of simple silhouetting product images and putting it up with some text and headlines that somebody's given to me. You know, the fun, it might not be fun because there's a formula to it, but the fun part is how fast can I do it? Trying to top it out. And, you know, if there is an edit, the fun part is how soon can I kick it back? At one point they were like, 2 minutes. You couldn't have done it in one. Like, you know, all I had to change was like a letter, but so yeah, you know.
So your deadlines are hourly, like within the day.
Yeah, sometimes there's a tight deadline and I'm like, I'd love to do that for you. I could do that for you. I've got a meeting, 2 hours. So
2 hour meeting.
How do you want to work with me? Well, you know, depending on what's going on.
So you're doing email blasts?
E-blasts.
Yeah.
We've recently switched over added a social campaign, social media component, getting all those ratios picked up. My PR person talks ratios to me. I talk pixels and I'm like, whoa. Okay. You know, let's find some common ground here.
1-to-1, the square, right?
You see,
Instagram
that makes
square.
sense. The 16:9 tends to throw me. I don't like squares on the Facebook and Twitter though. So I got to make sure that it presents nicer. So that makes sense. But that's like my day to day, or that's what takes up most of my time.
You work on bigger projects like that?
Definitely bigger projects. Yeah. So there's like capital projects that are brand new exhibits. And then there's revamping exhibits that, you know, the newness and the excitement kind of tends to wear off, you know, the shine, that kind of thing. 2 of those were Shoebox Treasures, was a brand new exhibit that came out in, I believe, 2019. And I got to see that. They actually started brainstorming that exhibit when I got there in 2017. So I got to see the whole runway on that one, start to completion. And then Your Team Today is a new twist on a redesign of our locker room exhibit, if you've seen.
Yeah, I want to bring that up. So Your Team Today, what is this?
So this is an exhibit. It used to be called The Locker Room. We renamed it to Your Team Today. It's kind of like the place in the museum where you can come to see. So you're a Red Sox fan. You will find a handful of artifacts that, you know, are attuned just to you, your team. You know, you really want to see, or say like you're a team like the Washington Nationals. They're a newer team, so they don't have that really rich history. I mean, you have the Expos, but if your favorite player plays and it's like really awesome, but they play for a newer team that doesn't have that deep history like a Reds or a Yankees, you can come here and at least there's something that within, I think, like a 10-year span, we try to keep it pretty fresh.
So these graphics here, these are on the wall? Is that
Correct.
Right? Like this one here? This looks like there's kind of like this gritty look to it. The edges are kind of worn. So that's all you working to create this visual language?
Correct.
Is there an art director that set the visual language, or how does that come about?
This was super exciting for me because the project before this was our exhibit Shoebox Treasures, where like it's really just me and my boss, who's creative director, art director, runs the whole. She's actually technically director of exhibits and design. So she had a lot of hands-on for that Shoebox Treasures, and I was more of a production designer. For this project was super exciting because she wanted to give it a fresh look, and this is kind of what was thinking in my head, you know, researching, looking at other designers. And this is similar to what you're going to see in current social campaigns in NBA and NFL, more fashion forward sports. She was like, yeah, here's kind of like a look and style I want to do. We just clicked and she said, okay, go for it. Just run with it and come back, show me, and we'll keep going.
These are some of the social media. Is that what these are here? These
Yep. So if you go down to the Larry Walker, that was an exhibit installation. We had to open up some floor space. Usually we have like cases here with artifacts, and we'll have some wall elements, but for the time being, with the heavily expected crowds that we saw heavy crowds 2019, 2020, expecting heavy crowds again, but didn't. But at least now I got to fill this space with, larger than life graphics. That was fun. These are social media graphics trying to fill our digital programming, given the lack of on-site programming. And then we welcome our new inductees come each season when that time rolls around. That's another larger than life thing for me working here. I really love branding. And I think I started with the induction tickets in 2017. And since then, I got to build up. My boss and I kind of split the workload for the induction brand. Should do like invitations and like that heavy editorial and like signage, really keeping that cohesive, formal section. But then there's this more expressive section, these more commonplace items. Whether you see on your phone or on the side of the building,
And you're working on the catalog, or a couple different catalogs you sent me.
So yeah, we have 2 catalogs that have, we do ads that go into our bi-monthly member magazine. The 2 catalogs we have going out are an insert that goes into the induction edition. And then there's one that goes into the holiday time. I think that's like issue number 5. We get our money through admission and retail. We're a nonprofit. So
there's a lot of fans out there. They'll buy anything with a team logo on it, right?
I hear bobbleheads. Bobbleheads are big. Like, cool, great.
There you go. So are there just 2 of you that are sort of like the designers, or are there other people that you work with?
I'd say it's somewhere between like a 50-70 person total operation. Yeah, in terms of design, it's really me and my boss, and then we have the person next to me. Technically, she's the exhibit preparator. So, making everything so you don't see the wires and the hat hanging off this big metal thing. She does awesome, but she's also a curator. She'll also do layout. If, I'm on a tight deadline and someone needs to do a label real quick from the curators, she could do that too. So
at least in the catalog, there's a lot of product photography. Is that somebody you hire to do those kind of studio shoots, or is that done in-house?
So most of it is really licensing and, whoever we're getting that are retail buyers.
So they're sending a lot of those photographs.
Some, but, we do have an on-site photographer who's actually mostly doing preservation and more on-site things. We need a collage for this. We need a shot of this jersey on exhibit for M&D, Memories and Dreams magazine. I actually got the opportunity. COVID, as bad as it is, has really worked out for me in a lot of ways, I guess.
Yeah, I think we all have to find the silver linings. I think that's the best way to deal with it.
Right. But some of the photography, the really nice photography that's featured in those M&D's issues, that attic-y feel, we do outsource, but it costs money. It's a really nice thing. It's good looking, really well done photography. And we're tight on the wallet right now. So they asked, they're like, hey, what type of photography background do you have? I'm like, I took 2 or 3 classes. I have an iPhone. Yeah. No, this is like old school now, but I've got a camera, I studied lighting. Am I great at it? I don't know. Who's to say? Am I a professional? No.
So have you done studio photography for the hall?
So yeah, I got the opportunity to do a little makeshift at home setup with, I kind of lucked out that I just moved houses and, the floors have just enough discoloration, and I got to borrow some like education artifacts, kind of like mock style stuff. And the education department was like, we can't host kids, take them
Yeah.
home and see what you could do. And yeah, a lot of the stuff, like, I'm really proud of, and a couple got featured in some e-blasts, but that might be what we turn to come next induction catalog.
Yeah, so you're kind of doing a little bit of everything.
The way I like it.
Yeah, and I guess that's probably, yeah, for some people, COVID has forced us to do more things than we maybe typically have done, wear more hats. So we obviously know each other from St. Rose, and one thing that I want to ask you, the part of your life that happened before we met, like what led you into like studying design, not necessarily at St. Rose as a particular school, but wherever you would have ended up. Why graphic design? What led you to that area? So when you were a child or high school or middle school, when did that happen? What was that pre St. Rose life like for as far as creativity?
So I love watching TV, the quintessential kid Saturday morning cartoons and cereal. That was it.
No Bob Ross?
No, not for me. Actually, it took me a beat. Wait, where are we? No, I got you.
So what is Saturday morning cartoon for you? I know what it is for me, but that's very different.
Right now I'm thinking like Fairly Odd Parents, but I don't think that came around for a while, like until I was a little older. Yeah, no, don't worry about it. Sitting watching cartoons and getting my dad awake and opening Frosted Flakes. It was Frosted Flakes for me.
And so did you take art classes based on that interest of cartoons and like kids shows? Or
no, for me it's Tony the Tiger, man. I was a true full heart athlete. The most I got in trouble as a kid was get the balls out of the house. The balls don't belong in the house. Take the ball outside.
Yeah, I read your bio. You were captain of a bunch of different teams. I don't know, was it basketball and soccer? What were all the sports you played in high school? Because there was a bunch of them listed, I saw.
Basketball, soccer, and softball. Yeah, once upon a time I was in karate, and then I had a younger sibling and my parents work, and so they were like, you gotta like tone this down. Let's do one per season. The Earn Your Stripes campaign commercial, Tony the Tiger on the Frosted Flakes box, that blue and that orange and the graphic stripes, and when it wasn't Tony the Tiger and it was just those 3 motion lines, that was design that appealed to me as who I saw myself when I was younger was an athlete. Maybe my Saturday morning cartoons too were Bert and Ernie, because I found myself little pigtails drawn, and it's clearly Bert and Ernie. My mom would always say, like, if anyone didn't know what to get me as a kid, she'd be like, oh, well, she's really interested in art, like an art kit. And I'm like, I am? Like, I didn't get it.
You didn't know you were an art kid.
And that actually brings, up to high school. Junior year, people are like, what do you want to do? You got to start making these college decisions. And I was like, I want to play softball. And that's what people said. So yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, like, no, what do you want to do for a job? I want to play softball. Like, they didn't get it.
Right.
I guess I didn't get it.
For that, right?
Yeah. That wasn't even an issue. Money was not even on my radar. My dad made sure that I put that on my radar. I talked to my art teacher. I just kind of like found myself like in study halls, and we were going up there and hanging out, and I was like, yeah, I have to figure out what I'm going to do. And, he drew like a little chart for me, and he's like, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And one of the things was graphic design. And I was like, okay,
sign me up.
Sounds good. But actually what he told me was, here's a school, it's St. Rose. They have a D2 sports program, so be challenged in that aspect. They also have a great accredited design program. So you will be challenged in both of these aspects of your life. And I was, but after those first 2 weeks of being like, wait, what? How do I do it all though? You figure it out and you love it.
But you did. So were you a student athlete for all 4 years?
I was.
Yeah. That's pretty rare. I have to say, like
they told me.
Yeah, that I mean, my experience, at least certainly at St. Rose, like students start out doing a sport. Yeah, at least like the senior year they don't make it. Some don't do the junior year. That's
Well,
great. That was yeah. That's a lot of work.
I'm not from like a sports inclined
Mhm.
family, so getting the understanding of how to not just like, because I'm the oldest and oldest sibling, oldest kid. So, you know, there's applying to college, and then there's the whole actually applying to the art program portion, which
Yeah.
I got all my signals crossed on that. Good thing it worked out. And then getting someone to come look at you from the
Mhm.
sports section, that didn't totally work out. And there was videos and we didn't totally get that. And so I was able to walk on with the coach at the time. And then one of the players actually said, "Yeah, what's your major?" It's like, "Oh, I'm a graphic design major." And they actually said, "Oh, you won't last." So yeah,
They heard the rumors. They heard the stories.
there was actually a couple of
Uh,
softball playing art majors a couple years before me, and they knew of them. And yeah, they said, "You either change your major or you will quit this team," which is probably why.
and you didn't do either. Congrats.
Well, that's probably why I did it, because I loved it. And what is it? Find what you love and let it kill you. It's
Yeah, so
probably
I don't know,
what it
something like that. Yeah, I
is.
don't
I
know.
don't know.
Maybe we all should be dying of that, I guess.
Exactly. It's a good way to go. And right, I'm
Yeah.
still here, so there's still more to be done.
Yeah, that's definitely a different kind of story because there's a lot
Mm.
of you hear student athletes come into art. Well, first off, I mean, I think it's somewhat rare that somebody who's interested in a creative field is an athlete as well, in
Definitely.
college. But even when they are, yeah, it doesn't it I mean, as you know, like there's a lot of work, a lot of studio time, a lot of extra time outside of class spent in
Yeah.
the art and design building. So
I was a
that makes
weirdo.
that makes it tough sometimes. So you made it work.
I
And
did. Yeah. Like
yeah,
I said, like I was a weirdo,
you're a weirdo. What do you
I
mean weirdo?
was. I was.
We're all weirdos. We're in the art. We're in the art department. We're in the art
S-
building, right?
Well, right. So I'm actually going to so thank you for the opportunity, like giving me this opportunity. And you mentioned when we talked about how did I get here, and my art teacher, Eric Wilson in high school, I should thank him more often. So, right. Mr. Wilson, thank you.
Yeah, we'll make sure Mr. Wilson's listening. You can
Right.
so he was your art teacher in high school?
Yeah. So I actually went back, I don't know, first after my first semester. And I was like, there are so many cool people there. They're so weird. They're just like me. And he goes, yeah. And I said, but did you know I was a weird art kid? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, and you didn't tell me? And he goes, no, I figured if I told you to go there, you'd figure it out.
All right. I mean, we got to thank our art teachers, right? I mean,
True.
I did want to ask because, and you don't have to give me exact number, but people are definitely curious about like, the business side of, making a living at this. You work for a nonprofit,
Right.
but can you give us a range of salary that like somebody at your level would expect? You're in a small town, which is different than maybe a museum, say in New York City. Is there a range of salary you could share with us?
Between 30 and 40 is where I started. It creeps up annually.
Sure. And how many
Not
years have
much.
you been there?
I'm going on 4 in March.
Going on 4 years. That's not like what I wouldn't expect. Like, cause it's,
Right.
again, there's all kinds of factors that go into that. And, it's like the level of the job and the place, the cost of living and, the type of business, right? Nonprofits versus like big corporations. There's definitely different ranges. And I think that's important to understand is, some people want to work in a nonprofit, want to work for the arts or culture, and some of those positions, some of those jobs, whatever it is, whether it's creative or some other part of the museum, it's probably not the same salary range as other places. That's just something that I think a lot of young designers, students, families are curious about. And I did want to ask also, well, I'm not asking, I actually polled some current students, and some of the questions are a little bit more relevant maybe to your position as an in-house designer. So I just want to ask a couple on behalf of the students. So Arabella Ryan, she sent a question like, how much creative liberty do you have? So I thought that was an interesting question for you as an in-house designer. How much leeway do you have to kind of push on certain design systems that might already be in place? What's that like?
So first, I love this question. And this
Thanks, Arabella.
Yeah, thank you. This is why I like brands, because I think they give the appropriate amount of constriction. Some of those retail things that are going out, I'm really just doing the red and the blue and some light gray. And that is what it is. But in terms of the induction campaign, there's definitely a feel. It's got to be a little more sleek. Don't want to, kind of like we looked at your team today with, we had those gritty elements and, this like wash of heavy color versus like, a little less. It's a little more subdued. I wouldn't do that with the induction campaign because it's about honoring these careers and it's like their time to shine.
It's a little more formal, a little more serious.
Definitely more formal.
Yeah.
But also being at the induction ceremony just has like so much life to it. It's kind of like almost like a concert vibe. The nice thing about working in an exhibit like the Baseball Hall of Fame is that it's not a traditional exhibit where there might be photos and art like you might see because this is a student, I'll reference the Masry Gallery. It's more experiential. We have like the Shoebox Treasures, our baseball card exhibit that just went up. There's interactive elements. It's bright. We use bubblegum pink tile to play off of that nostalgia. So, I'm fortunate in that each exhibit has its own look and culture.
Okay, so I got some final questions for you. These are mine. So it's this is the speed round. Your work beverage of choice.
Coffee.
Yeah, not Gatorade. It's a sport. No. What's your after work beverage?
After work beverage. I've grown on tea lately.
Tea. Oh, yeah. That sounds pleasant.
It is. It is.
Sketchbook, blank or gridded?
The dots. The
dots. Okay, the dot grid. Oh, yeah.
The mysterious third choice.
Yes. Well, it's sort of gridded, I guess. Genre of music you listen to at work?
I have a playlist. It's called the Hype playlist. I listen to the same music I design to as I would work out to. Okay. So, Macklemore and 80s rock and
80s rock. All right.
Punk rock.
That sounds good. All right. I'll have to get that playlist. AstroTurf or natural grass?
Grass. Definitely natural grass.
Which is the best designed baseball team logo?
The NY.
What? You're just saying that because you're Yankee
No. This is I'm pretty sure you could pull several designers, especially in the sports industry. Do you know how many podcasts I've listened to when this question is asked? Okay,
who designed it? Do you know who designed who designed the interlocking NY?
Hold on.
Can I call a friend?
Who designed the NY logo for the Yankees? You run the research center. Tried.
Research. So the man who started Tiffany and Company, the jewelry company, the guy who started it was Charles Louis Tiffany, right? His son was an art director for the Tiffany Company. His name was Louis Comfort Tiffany. He designed the NY logo as actually a badge for the New York Police Department to honor somebody who was killed in the line of duty. Oh. And because there was a connection, one of the owners of the Yankees at the time was a former police chief. The Yankees took on that logo. Yeah, it has some history. I might agree with you, even though I'm a Red Sox fan. Yeah, it has a good history, has a nice design. It's been tweaked over the years, that NY.
Definitely. Yep. Yeah. I need to know though, is that something that you had in your brain?
It's in my brain now.
Yes.
No, I looked it up.
I'd say that, and that's why you looked it up. Yes.
I had to order the questions in the exact order because I knew you would say NY. Well, I didn't really know, but
I think you knew.
No. It's been great talking to you, Danny. Okay, I'm gonna end with a quote from Winnie. A hug is always the right size. How about that? That's such a Pooh quote for the pandemic times we live in. It was so great to talk to you.
You too.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for asking me, man.
We'll have to do it again sometime soon.
Definitely. And right. Thank you not only for the podcast, but being you, being awesome. I don't want to work today, or I'm done sitting in front of computer talks that we would have those handful of years ago. You told me just get through it. Keep going.
I have my moments.
Much appreciated, sir.
So what do we learn from Danny? First thing is combine your interest with design. Design is embedded in all parts of our lives, and if you find something you love to do, go design for it. Second thing would be embrace the wisdom of Pooh. Pooh is deep, very deep. So go read some Pooh. Thanks to Dani Dayton, graphic designer at the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. If you have any comments or questions for me or any of the guests, put them in the comments and we'll be sure to address them. And subscribe so you can get the next episode of Design Futures. Until next time, go learn something. Your future depends on it. Thanks for listening. See ya.